The conversation continues.
How ridiculously complicated they've tried to make this global warming argument.
Today's News Talk, The World Today.
There you are. It's if you're in the UK at the moment or anywhere else in the world, we're going through a lot of garbage in Australia at the moment. It's not a good look. And what can we do about it? I suppose we can fight. But if government, in most cases, want to do something to you, they will, which is pretty interesting. Now, Nigel Farage, he's getting a bit fired up, and I sort of like this bit. Normally I don't like Nigel Farage, any bits of Nigel. He's up in arms about a global digital ID, which I agree with him because the digital euro is set to launch in October in Europe, and I think the rest of the world will follow very shortly thereafter, and give it 6 months or thereabouts, maybe a bit less, you're going to find that the entire world has changed. It's changing and changing and changing, not for the good. It's for the control of. Cam, could you play Nigel, please?
The G20 is over, but what you haven't heard is what was said by the unelected boss of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. She said we need digital public infrastructures. What does she mean? Well, it's rather like the digital passport that Tony Blair was talking about. Already in the EU, they've got a trial going on in France and Germany. They want an EU-wide digital ID backed up by a central bank digital currency. And she now wants this to go global. And I want the British government to say, we want no part of it. Imagine that, a global database that could fall into the hands of bad actors and our lives be completely controlled. I want the British government to say no.
Of course they're going to say yes. Look at Starmer. What an incredible buffoon he is. I've been told I shouldn't be saying nasty things about government officials, considering that YouTube is ramping up everything to get rid of us and X is doing the same to us, which is really interesting. Why would they be doing that? Anyway, maybe the TNT days are still, maybe they're floating around, and Tim Hinchliffe certainly hope so too. So thanks, Tim, for your kind words. Trevor Coult MC is a decorated British Army veteran who served in the Royal Irish Regiment. The big question, Trevor, that's on everybody's lips: did Donald Trump kiss Charles's ring?
Very good question. I'm not sure if that took place. I did watch part of the memorial. It was quite moving. If anything, we can agree on one thing, Mike, and that is the death of Charlie Kirk has brought millions of people together. So he didn't die in vain, hopefully.
No, he didn't, and I think it's a terrible. I think the today's events in the US were magnificent. I think the stuff that's surrounding it at the moment, all the unanswered questions, and as time goes on, things come out into the open. But there are other things at play at the moment, which is very, very interesting, such as drones and all that sort of stuff too, which the FBI is not denying. So it opens up, but you are right, Charlie Kirk did bring together a great chunk of the world, and it was very sad. It was a very, very sad day, and a very sad day today, but we celebrated what he has achieved and what his passing will achieve. And that itself is a very good thing. What's your thoughts on the Trump state visit, and what does it represent?
Well, I'm thoroughly pleased that the President of the United States' visit to the UK was fabulous. He was hosted. I mean, we laid everything out for him. I mean, the King did his best. And I think that's a reflection of how the country is at the minute, Mike, because the globe is looking at us. I'm allowed to say globe, is there flat earthers on? That everyone's looking at the UK, and we are seeing a weak Prime Minister. We are seeing someone that's not a leader, someone that has turned his back on his own citizens, someone that is throwing our taxpayers' money down the drain, who's now don't know why he's done it, but he's now recognised Palestine. We are showing that our leader recognises terrorism, and if you put enough, if you use enough bullets and enough bombs, that our government will take a knee to you. And I think it was only right that the king showed the world that, we still have decency. So we laid it on thick for the president because our prime minister had let him down.
Yes, I do agree on that part, but I think it's still glossing, isn't it? A bit of a gloss over the festering sore. And that festering sore is, at the moment, the Starmer government. If you look at what he's doing to the entire country, entire nation, United Kingdom, he is actually destroying it. If you look at the farmers, and look at the immigration problem that is upon us, he's doing a very bad job. People think, well, it'll be all fixed, he'll be removed. He's not going to go anywhere until the next election. And if Nigel slips or Reform slip a bit, you're going to have him again. And so whether you like it or not, this is the devil. Do you think they're saying it's better the devil you know, or do you think he is the end of decency for the UK?
Well, I don't like the better the devil you know. It's a good saying, and a lot of the time that's true. Here in the UK, who's going to replace him? At the minute, we're seeing Ed Miliband making a move to try and get as much backing in the Labour Party as possible, hopefully to try and oust him. But he's worse. He's throwing money away and hand over fist. I mean, at the minute, there's rumours going around. I'm not sure if you know this here, but there's rumours going around now to try and stop cremations. So, I mean, because apparently the gases that go into the atmosphere, so he wants to stop that. He's coming up with eco-friendly coffins now. I mean, the guy's a lunatic, in my opinion. We need to get rid of Labour Party. And the one thing that this has proven now is the Labour Party are not friends of UK people. I mean, going back throughout all the years, I have noticed, and I'm sure a lot of your viewers will notice, Labour endorsed terrorism. First of all, let's go back to Northern Ireland. It was the Labour Party under Tony Blair that released all the prisoners, the terrorists, onto the street, even though they had killed thousands of soldiers, thousands of civilians. They killed Lord Mountbatten, a member of the royal family, and they got rid of the terrorism. And then they give all the terrorists amnesty, but they're still prosecuting veterans today. Soldiers never got amnesty. So under that, you can see that Labour endorsed it. Now, as well as that, all these terrorists that went to jail, and I know this because my father worked there, is they all used taxpayers' money and studied degrees and got law degrees, and now they're in charge of the UK government over in Northern Ireland, aren't they? So we actively endorse them. But when we look back, we'll see that Palestine, the PLO and ETA were all friends of the IRA, and they all trained together, they all shared information, they all shared weapons. And now we're seeing Keir Starmer not only releasing prisoners onto the street, we're seeing Keir Starmer invite them in on boats. We're seeing Keir Starmer now stand up and say, we now endorse Hamas. We want to recognize Palestine. We have actually got people in charge of our government that hate the United Kingdom.
Starmer looked and sounded, compared to Trump and those around him, he looked and sounded a lesser figure, didn't he? How does Starmer, first of all, he can do some better, make better decisions. He's not going to do that, but how else can he elevate himself from, at the moment, he would be resembling a politician under a rock. How does he elevate himself to at least be respected in some ways, or is that just impossible?
Well, he could, Mike. There's a couple of things that he could do. One of them is he could endorse the fact that we need to leave the European Court of Human Rights. When has it got to the stage that European Court of Human Rights are actually looking after UK citizens? It's not. Ordinary law-abiding people do not need to quote the European Court of Human Rights. It's only ever brought into play when there's something terribly going wrong or there's people that are here illegal. It's funny how illegals, prisoners and criminals always need to fall under the banner of European Court of Human Rights, but the European Court of Human Rights is never used for people that are doing the right thing. So we need to leave that. The minute we leave that, we can control our courts. We also need to do something with human rights lawyers. I honestly do not believe that these human rights lawyers should be allowed to gain taxpayers' money to represent people in our country that aren't even from here. I do not believe that taxpayers should have to fork out money to look after people that aren't even from Europe. Why are we doing this? Do you know what? If I want to take on an ordinary citizen, I've got to fund it. I've got to fund it myself. Why do these people get money, millions handed to them? And this is why they're able to do it, because all these lawyers that are coming in are sitting down in Dover along our coast waiting for a payday. So we need to stop this, human rights lawyers, because you know what? They're not real lawyers. Let's be honest. They're slimy, thieving people that just want to make money from ill-gotten gains.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. What about Starmer's response on illegal invasion, free speech? It was pretty pathetic, wasn't it?
Well, do you know what? I mean, I haven't heard anyone say anything good about our Prime Minister. I really haven't. Globally, he's a laughing stock, and he continues to actually upset working people. He claims to be Labour Party for the working people, and he's not. The free speech side of things, this started just before COVID. The whole thing started, and we started going downhill whenever the government decided to implement a new brigade called 7-7 Brigade, whose job it was to carry out psychological operations online and to get rid of misinformation and disinformation. And basically, see this misinformation, disinformation, it doesn't exist. It's people's opinions. And what you're trying to do is silence people's opinions. You can't silence someone's opinion, but what you can do is you can arrest them because they say things that you don't like. Now, it's a lot of celebrities do this, where they hire companies, social media companies, to go after people that they call misinformation and disinformation. And the truth is, it's just the fact that they're trying to silence their critics. That's what it's all about. Silencing the critics. You do not want to hear bad things about yourself, so you will call it misinformation and you will sue them. And that's what our government are doing to ordinary people. It's like Facebook used to be a place where people can go on and have a chat. I mean, I used to go on Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook in 5 years. I deleted it because it got so toxic, where your friends couldn't even have a conversation with you and call you a name as a bit of a fun. Facebook would silence you and give you 7 days and 14 days ban. So we've seen this coming on and on. Now, the weird thing about this, Mike, and I will point this out, is why is the UK able to infiltrate the different amendments in the US? Because every single social media platform is American owned. And if it's American owned, then it falls under their amendments. So why are we being silenced to say things that are unpopular in our country when America is controlling the social media platforms?
We've got just a clip here of Donald Trump and Starmer. And Starmer's talking about his free speech. I'll just play this just to refresh some memories, Cam.
Having been in DC for a few weeks, it's really interesting to see how you run the country as a proud Christian leader. And it really begs the question to the Prime Minister, if you don't mind, are we still a Christian country? But also...
when you say we, are you talking here or...?
Here. The UK. I'm still British. I might live in America, I'm still British. But also...
I can't give you that answer.
That's for the Prime Minister. But also... despite what we talked about in Scotland a few weeks ago, we still have 12,000 people a year here being arrested for social media posts, for free speech violations. Does that not remain an important area that there is still a lot of disagreement on?
I'd like to have you answer that.
Yeah, look, I mean, in terms of I was Christian.
We've lost their clip. Cam, what are you doing to me? He was just about to answer that. Maybe Cam can put that back up again because it's actually important. Cam, do you want to hit the button again or do a tap dance? Or
having been in DC for a few weeks, it's really interesting to see how you run the country as a proud Christian leader. And it really begs the question to the Prime Minister, if you don't mind, are we still a Christian country? But also... when
you say we, are you talking here or...?
Here. The UK. I'm still British. I might live in America, I'm still British. But also...
I can't give you that answer.
That's for the Prime Minister. But also, despite what we talked about in Scotland a few weeks ago, we still have 12,000 people a year here being arrested for social media posts, for free speech violations. Does that not remain an important area that there is still a lot of disagreement on?
I'd like to have you answer that.
Yeah, look, I mean, in terms of... I was christened, so that is... my church has been all my life, and we are, that is wired into our informal constitution. Of course, we celebrate many other faiths as well, and I'm really proud that we're able to do so as a country. And on free speech, that has long lived in this country, free speech. It's one of the founding values of the United Kingdom, and we protect it jealously and fiercely, and always will, and we will bear down on any limits on free speech. I draw a limit between free speech and the speech of those that want to peddle paedophilia and suicide social media to children, and therefore I'm all for free speech. I'm also for protecting children from things that will harm them, paedophiles, those that peddle suicide, which has had a terrible consequence for individual, particularly teenagers. And so that's the balance we strike. But we have had freedom of speech in this country for a very long time, and we will always protect it.
Thank you.
There you are. We got through it. And the last tag was, actually, you saw that, didn't you, Trevor? It's about right, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know, I'm lost for words. I'm angry. There's things I'd love to say in here, but I end up getting arrested. I mean, I don't have any faith in our government. I speak to loads of people that used to vote for Labour, and they've all moved to Reform. My local Member of Parliament is Labour. Her name is Jenny Riddle Carpenter, and we've been having a bit of an email exchange over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and she won't speak to me because I've called her out on several topics. So just go to show that our own constituent Labour MPs won't speak to the people that allegedly voted them in. I didn't. So they're closing down speech. Now, reference to free speech thing, it has got that bad. It has got that bad. I'm under the impression where Keir Starmer believes now that he's never going to get another bite of the cherry. He's never going to get elected again. And I honestly believe that after this whole term that his party's been in, Labour aren't going to go anywhere near Downing Street for the next 20, 30, maybe even 40 years for this type of behaviour. So what I see Keir Starmer doing now is I see him silencing anyone that's negative gets silenced and arrested. He's trying to turn it into like nobody would dare vote. If you dare vote against me, you'll go to jail. We're heading towards that sort of remit where our Prime Minister is putting pressure on the people to do exactly what he wants. He is, without having to kill people. I mean, he's locking a lot of people up. Thousands of people every year being locked up because they've said something which are unpopular. I mean, it's got the stage in the past. An MP was killed, an MP was shot. I mean, it's getting to the stage now where people are so angry with the way they're being treated that MPs are putting their own lives in danger with their behaviour and their actions that they're doing to us. They're basically laughing at us. Right now, Keir Starmer is gaslighting us all with immigration. I mean, making funny videos. We've sent so many people. You sent a plane with one person on it. That flight with one person on it has cost us a lot of money. You're wasting money. You're laughing at us. We are all having to pay more. Council tax is going up and the councils are doing less. I mean, the place is a mess. The only places that are getting money invested are asylum seeker hotels, free houses to put ordinary people when there's 1.9 million people on the waiting list in the UK, and they're being put to the back of the queue to house people from Somalia, people from Nigeria, people from Iraq, Syria, Afghan, and now we're going to recognise it. I'm just so angry, Mike, with what's going on, and there's no way to stop it.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you too. It's you need to look after your own backyard before you look after or invite other people to have a barbecue with you. I just made that saying up, but it's bloody beauty.
It is.
Yes, thank you very much. I like that. I'm going to actually use that many more times. Can you, but not around people who can beat me up because they'll tell me to shut up. What about the mainstream media reporting? I mean, how are they treating Slug? I mean, Starmer.
Oh, well, I think you got it right first time there. I get the impression where the BBC and ITV and Sky News are all fearful. They're all fearful because, and I never knew this could happen, but the government has a right to pull a license from a TV company if it's putting out propaganda. So these stations are now putting out government propaganda. keeping in Starmer's back pocket. The only stations at the minute are independent news companies are putting out good stories and letting people see what's happening. GB News does good stuff. I'm not here to promote other channels, but
We've frozen again.
it's got the stage where we don't need journalists in the BBC. We don't need journalists from ITN News. We have seen this repetitive circle of them lying to us. The United the Kingdom rally, where the Metropolitan Police, believe it or not, the Metropolitan Police, and I found this shocking, put out footage of riots from months and years ago and tried to pass it off as it was an unrest, unruly United Kingdom march. They put out different clips from different riots and tried to pass it off there to make the public think that the march was a nasty march with a lot of bad people in it, and they called us all far right, and it wasn't far right. It was just shocking. So the Metropolitan Police have lost a lot of support. Ant Middleton's going to try and take the seat from Sadiq Khan. He's determined to do it, and I think he's got the backing of the people, and I can't wait for that to happen so we can get rid of him. I mean, under Sadiq Khan, there's places in London now where Sharia law is ripe, which is crazy. So the current TV channels which we used to watch, I mean, I haven't watched the BBC in probably, 8-9 years now. I just don't watch it because it lies. We need people like you, Mike, and other independent journalists that are doing great stuff that actually aren't afraid to speak. I can't see Keir Starmer locking you up anytime soon, but I can see him phoning up your Prime Minister to get you locked up.
Good on you. Thanks. Look, I just hang on. Hello. That's what they'll be. I mean, the English police, they do that. Hello. But you are right. In Australia, we have a push for anybody that criticises Islam. My false teeth aren't working today. They criticise Islam. You will end up going to jail, just like they're trying to bring in the UK. Your mayor. I mean, and actually, one more thing. Hand on heart, tell me, because I've seen two reports of the numbers at that massive rally. One report said 110,000, the other said 3 million. Now, if you get close to, you understand there's going to be some discrepancy. 110,000 and 3 million, that's a big difference. What do you think it was, and who is telling the truth?
Well, the BBC said 110,000, so we know that if the BBC had said 3 million, then it would have been a lie. So the number that the BBC said was propaganda. There was nowhere near that. Now, if you look at the likes of the Queen's Jubilee, in the Queen's Jubilee, it didn't even take up half of the amount of room which was used at the United Kingdom rally. During the Queen's Jubilee, they said there was over 1 million people in London, and that was on paper. So the helicopter did its route, and it said that, and with all checks and trains and people coming to London, they said there was over 1 million people at Queen's Jubilee. Now, twice the amount of floor space was used for the United Kingdom rally. So I would say the numbers would have been closer to 3 rather than 100,000. Or even if you try to look at this logically, if there wasn't 3 million, there definitely was close to about just over 2 million because of the amount of people and the amount of roads that were used up. You can't say that if you're there for the Queen's Jubilee, you're 1 million, but if you're there for a march on Tommy Robinson, you're 100,000. I mean, it just showed the lies and the narrative put out by our mainstream media. Basically, Keir Starmer's frightened. Keir Starmer and his government are frightened. And the reason why they're frightened is they've done everything they can possibly to get rid of Tommy Robinson. He went to Colombia the other day, and Colombia, which is full of narcos and kidnappers and hostages, said he was too dangerous and they deported him. Then he went to Panama, which is one of the capitals of cocaine and heroin in the world, filled with narcos and people cut your heads off, and they deport him because he said he was too dangerous. Basically, our government are actually pushing other governments to do what they want to do, which is wrong. Keir Starmer is fearful of Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson is more powerful than the Prime Minister, whether people like it or not. He's more popular than the Prime Minister. People are now saying that he's not a racist. He's not an Islamophobe, whatever you want to call that word. He's actually coming up with he's been to Cambridge and Oxford. And he's debated with people. He's got real life experience. He might have started off maybe as a young lad as a job, but because of the suppression from the police and the government, it's forced him into learning. He's very knowledgeable on his subject, and he's teaching everyone, and everyone's going, yes, you've got a point there, Tommy. You've got a point there. So the more that the government go against him and the more they lie, the more support he's gaining. And it's went from a rally with 100,000 people about 6 years ago. He's now getting 1 million plus. It's just going to get bigger and bigger unless our Prime Minister acknowledges him and sits down. Look what happened whenever Europe laughed at Nigel Farage. Look what happened when they laughed at him. It made him more determined. And him, forget Boris Johnson, it was Nigel Farage and his push for Brexit that made us leave the European Union. And now they're again laughing at Nigel Farage, and it's going to push him even further. He's going to be the next Prime Minister.
Your free speech laws are appalling. 12,000 who were arrested for social media post annually. I just saw a clip the other day that Katie Hopkins, who used to work for TNT, that's before the cyclones decided to decimate us from within, but it's very interesting that Katie Hopkins, who's a comedian and also she speaks her mind, and I admire Katie very, very much. Don't agree all the time with what she's saying, but I have to say that she is just fantastic and fabulous. But they've arrested her apparently, and she'll be charged within the next couple of days for a post she put up, probably criticising what's happening within the UK. You can't keep attacking your own people for the mistakes that you're making, and then if they say hurty words, you're going to have them charged. And I understand that they want to keep the racism thing out. This is not racism. This is about protecting your country. And when people say it's racist, that is it's just like throwing something out like, you don't believe in climate change? You're a denier. Oh, you'll burn in hell. You'll burn in hell. But that's what it is. And if you have part of it being a democratic nation is that you have a right to say what you need to say. And Katie Hopkins, I'm sure she's a bit out there, but she's a comedian. So why would they have arrested her and are about to charge her for this, the social media post that she posted? I mean, if you don't want to read it, don't read it.
Well, they will go after Katie Hopkins. They will go after, and Katie Hopkins again is another person who people have come to rely on. She does her batshit bonkers Britain, and she talks about things. She talks about real life situations. I like Katie, but they will go after her because she's got a big following now, and they'll try and shut her up. But what they're doing now is, and this is what I would do if I was Katie. I'd go and I'd take my lawyer, my solicitor, I'd sit there, I'd answer whatever they need, or else it'll be under guidance, probably no comment. But this is what happens. The government are making us all rich, because what happens is we sit back and we then sue the government, and then they have to pay out large sums of money because they're getting it wrong. Basically, this is because now, if Keir Starmer was to put out a thing saying leave people, he's lying to Donald Trump, first of all, saying, oh, there is free speech in the UK. There's not. There's no free speech in the UK. We have to hide whenever we're doing. I mean, no one knows where I live at the minute, Mike, if I'm honest. I've moved house once because I've been arrested in that house and had the police at my door in the previous house. And,
hello.
It's terrible. But it's like living under like Anne Frank's, we all have attic-ways everywhere because the police are just constantly going. They're not doing anything. I don't see them out in the streets patrolling, but there is a specialised team to troll through social media to make sure. And I'm sure, well, I know this anyway. I might as well say it here. I know I'm on a watch list at MI5. There's me and several other veterans on watch list because we've got followings, because we're doing things, and we're being watched. And the minute we step out of the line, hello. I mean, it's just funny. It's funny for me because I used to be a little bit scared. I mean, I was tough in the army, but I left. I'm now 50, and I went through a phase with my mental health, and I was really in the gutter. And the police were at my door every other day. Can you come in for a voluntary interview, Mr. Coult? And so many times. I mean, they came and they arrested me, put cuffs on me because I'd said something online. But it's got to the stage now where I'm conditioned. I am conditioned to their nonsense, and I now refuse to go for a chat. I just sit back, and I'm not scared of the police anymore. And loads of people are not fearful of the police. We find them to be a laughing stock here, and they've lost that sense of power now, because they're not doing their job. They're not out arresting criminals. They're not out I mean, if I walk down my street, I won't say exactly where I am, but there's double yellow lines everywhere where you can't park, and it's always filled. And there's the odd time I'll see a policeman sitting there having an ice cream, because they don't care, unless you say Trev's tweeted something or he's put something online. Oh, has he? Let's knock on his door then, will we? Let's put the fear of God into him. I mean, it's shameful to say that the British police used to be one of the most respected police forces in the UK, one of the most respected police forces on the planet, and now every other police force is looking at us and thinking that we're a joke.
Robin Williams, I always tell this to unsuspecting victims who I'm chatting to on air. Robin Williams said when they just had truncheons and
Don't know what's happened there. You still there, Mike?
Yes. Can you wait? We've lost him again. Cam, if we can just get rid of that quickly, he's moving around. That's better. Looks like he's been chased by the police. We just lost. It was a great conversation. I was about to tell my joke.
Telling it as it is. This is today's News Talk, the world today.
Hang on, we'll do this properly. No, officer, he wasn't saying anything bad. No, he was being polite about you. Which constable? The Met? No, I've never heard of him. Never heard of him. No, they didn't call me, and they didn't.
Okay.
And we could play on this. They've cut your signal. They're listening. Oh my God, they're parked outside your place again. But nothing like that. I was just going to say, before Robin Williams was talking about the English police before they had guns or stun guns or whatever you call it, and he would say the difference between an American policeman and an English bobby is that the English police will say stop, or I'll say stop again. And that was his great little joke, and I thought it was very funny in those days. Let's keep moving on. Your politicians are pretty average, to say the least. If you look at your mayor, and we'll play this, he seems to not have a whole lot of respect from anyone. And I'll ask you an obvious question after this. Cam, if you could play that clip.
What do you think about the fact that you attend an event in England, a state visit, spectacular,
right,
and yet the Mayor of London can't be there?
I didn't want him there. I asked that he not be there. I don't want them. I think the Mayor of London, Khan, is among the worst mayors in the world. And we have some bad ones. If you look at Chicago, but I think he's the equivalent of the Mayor of Chicago. I think he's done a terrible job. Crime in London is through the roof. The Mayor of London, Mayor Khan, has done a terrible job. And on immigration, he's a disaster. No, I asked that he not be there. He wanted to be there, as I understand. I didn't want him. I've not liked him for a long time. I just think, I have a certain pride in London and UK. My mother was born in Scotland, as you know. And when I see Mayor Khan do a bad job, the stabbings and the dirt and the filth, it's not the same. No, I didn't want him there.
So, Trevor, there's another one that's destroying the UK. Why can't they get rid of him?
Well, it's to do with immigration for a start. I mean, London has taken on that many Muslims from across the world now that it's like a permanent seat, isn't it? London's not British anymore, and I hate to say it's not. I mean, they say it is, but you've only got to walk down parts of London and you won't see a British person there. I mean, a lot of people are scared to go out in London due to crime, mobile phone theft, stabbings, knife crime, which is stored under his tenure as mayor. There's far too many foreigners in London now, which will keep voting him in. This is why we need to get Ant Middleton in there. The London mayor is a laughingstock. Now, you'll have a lot of people that live in London. I don't know why, Mike, but people hate the British, but they come to live here. I don't understand it. We hate this and we hate the royal family. Okay, who's that on your note? It's the king. All right, okay. it must be painful to hold that coin in your hand. But I know, and I'm sure a lot of your viewers know, Sadiq Khan represented, as a lawyer, one of the 9/11 bombers. Let's remember that. Before he became the mayor, he was into the law, and he represented one of the 9/11. Now, if you're the president of the United States, one of the biggest catastrophes ever on US soil, and this guy's now the mayor of one of your allies, the capital city, it must be painful. I believe the president said that he would never attend a state banquet in the UK if the London mayor was there. So, I mean, you can't endorse that. You can never forgive that. And I don't care what people say, yeah, a lawyer's doing a lawyer. Lawyers aren't stupid. Lawyers know who they're taking on. Lawyers know that if they take on a bomber, it catapults their name up in the media. They know it. That's why they do it. And he did it. He could have said, no, I don't want to take it on. And no, he did it. And he defended one of the 9/11 bombers. So I can understand why the president doesn't like him. And I can understand why he's a global laughingstock. We do need him replaced massively.
Trump's visit, even though I think it was just pure show, that's what I think. And I thought the big dinner when they had the trestle table out, the king was there, and it was a little more than a trestle table, I would think. But a lot of the reps there were, they're all big tech, or of companies such as Blackstone and BlackRock and things like that. And it looked like they collected on deplane all the people that are destroying the planet, basically, and that would like to rule the world, the universe, and further on. It looked like they collected all those together to have this big dinner. And I would imagine it was the who's who of the planet when it comes to money. He did some big deals. Lots of deals were concluded, which signifies Trump and the US ascended, in contrast to what happens and what is happening in Europe. They're saying that Trump has this great relationship now with the UK government. Is that a good or a bad thing?
Well, wow, that's a good question. I would like to think it. I would like to think it's a good thing. Not only was the president there, but if the president isn't going to do a deal with the UK, I'm sure he would have sent word out. I mean, I also seen Tim Cook there, the CEO, the CEO of Apple, was sitting at the table. It looked like the biggest productive companies in the world were sitting around that table on that dinner. I'm convinced there was deals done with them. Now, our king is meant to be some sort of environmentalist. He loves the planet. He kisses fishes and he makes the plants grow and he does sermons and all the rest of the stuff. He's meant to be great for the environment. But it then goes against everything, doesn't it, by everyone that was sitting around that table that are actually have things which are destroying part of the planet. So, as you just said rightly, it was quite strange to see them all there. Now, if we want to fix the UK, what we need to do is stop letting big companies and big techs blackmail us. Because what they're doing now in the UK is they are blackmailing us. Starbucks, Apple, Google, they're all saying, we want to pay 6 or 7% tax. No, but you have to pay 40 if you want. No, we want to. If you make us pay this tax, then we will shut down our factories and we'll make 35,000 UK citizens unemployed. And we then back off and we go, okay, we'll let you keep a low tax. What we need to do is hit them back harder and say, no, well then shut your factories and go back to the US because we'll just give your factories to another company. So we need to hit them back because what they're doing now is they're blackmailing our government. They're not paying the right amount of corporation tax and they're getting away with it. And then who's having to pay their tax for them? It's Jane and Susan and John that live across the street whose now taxes have gone up to 2% to cover for these big tech companies. So I don't see a banquet state dinner adds any value unless you have someone at the top of the table laying down the law to them all. This is our country, and if you want to operate in it, then you will pay the same as everyone else. So hopefully, if we do that, that's exactly what the president's doing in America. If the president of the USA, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for us. He's putting taxes up and putting all these different things in place to benefit US citizens. But when anyone else does it, he takes the hump like a big child, doesn't he?
He does, and a very big child with not real hair. Just thinking about the digital ID, which Trump is very much into the biometrics and the quasi-security measures he wants to bring in. Digital ID, it does change the entire outlook on things. When we were TNT, we went on. In fact, I went on every time about it, saying it's going to be the end of what we know as freedom, because they will be able to control ourselves, and with these CDCs, that too. We see that Europe is pushing it. In October, they're going to be embrace the ID, the CDCs, the digital euro, CBDC, sorry, digital euro, and so forth. Nigel Farage says, we'll play this again. He says, don't give in, do not agree to the digital ID. Cam, if you could play that clip.
The G20 is over, but what you haven't heard is what was said by the unelected boss of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. She said we need digital public infrastructures. What does she mean? Well, it's rather like the digital passport that Tony Blair was talking about. Already in the EU, they've got a trial going on in France and Germany. They want an EU-wide digital ID backed up by a central bank digital currency. And she now wants this to go global. And I want the British government to say, we want no part of it. Imagine that, a global database that could fall into the hands of bad actors and our lives be completely controlled. I want the British government to say no.
So Nigel is saying, which is correct, that if it falls into bad actors' hands, look at your current government, bad actors' hands, look at the next, if reform get in. These politicians are still under the thumb of you call them we call them bureaucrats here, you call them civil service. They're the ones that will be pushing for this and that, and therefore they're the ones who probably at the end of the day will be controlling what happens. Now Nigel might say, don't have a digital ID. How many times, Trevor, have you heard a politician say, it will not happen? It will not happen. And then they get in, well, it had to happen because, well, we didn't realise there was this and that and this and that. So he's right in what he's saying, but can you believe that any government that the UK have, any of those governments won't make the most of a bad opportunity, which is digital ID?
Well, Mike, this digital ID, the biometrics thing, I've used it before. It doesn't work. It works if you have a competent person in charge of that digital ID. So basically, a digital ID. So when I was in Afghanistan, we used a thing called biometrics. I won't go into the different types of things because it's still being used today. So basically, we took mouth swabs, iris scans, fingerprints. We did all these things, and we had a list, and we controlled who had been through this, and this information was used to capture high-value targets. So basically, if a bomb had went off and our forensics team went in and got all the bits and pieces left from the bomb, we would try and put together fingerprints and things, swabs from that, and we would try and match it with people we had digitally enrolled. Now, a lot of time we did get hits that when we picked up fragmentations and we got the DNA from them, which matched with the digital ID that we enrolled everyone, we then went out, our own special forces went out, along with your special forces, and we did night raids, and we picked these people up and we brought them back in for prosecution. Not one person that killed a British soldier or Australian in coalition forces in Afghanistan was ever prosecuted, because the person at the top did a deal. So it doesn't matter. You can go and you can digitally enroll all your citizens. If the person at the top is incompetent, it doesn't mean anything. And by the way, it'll only be the ones that have passports that get digital ID. Remember that. So everyone that's here illegally won't need a digital ID because no one will know they're not here. You know what I mean? So if you're a criminal and you're there illegally, No one will know who you are because you won't be enrolled. It's all the good citizens that again get crapped on by the government. It won't work. It will never work. If anything, it's a controlling system. And what you will have as well, Mike, is, and no one's talking about it, you'll have an exempt list. So what you'll have is politicians won't need to be digital ID. Oh, they will show it. Oh, they'll show it for the TV. I mean, like their COVID card. I've had my AstraZeneca. Look, and they'll sell it to us on TV, but it doesn't mean anything. So politicians will be exempt. You'll have certain people in society that will be exempt. You'll have people here that are, say, for instance, people that have new identities that are helping the police forces and all that. They'll be exempt. Maybe people in the civil service will be exempt. So basically, if you're in a government role, you could possibly be exempt of digital ID. It'll be your constituents that will need to prove who they are, where you won't need to.
It's just interesting. We have here the e-safety commissioner, and I trust her with my life because she was ex-CIA. Not really, but she would know though how to, being an e-safety commissioner and with her experience, she would know exactly how to surveil people, how to make sure that we know what you are doing. And the part of this e-safety thing, which our Prime Minister is making a speech, I think today in the United Nations, telling everybody, including everybody in the United Nations, how magnificent this new controlling mechanism is called the e-safety, which it is. It will control everybody. But it's also done in biometrics. And one of the worst social medias is YouTube. Not, but they've put these restrictions on YouTube, and YouTube have enough of their own, but you will have to log in using biometrics. Now, I think I know most people I know watch YouTube on their TVs. How do you do biometrics, by the way, on your TV? Is your TV watching you?
Well, there's going to be a lot of restrictions on YouTube because YouTube is where all the independent journalists go to give you the news behind the nonsense news.
It will
Now,
stop.
do you have this on your phone, Mike? Because I've got it in mine. So basically, if I was to log in, if I was to go onto a TV and I would put up YouTube, it'll say confirm the number or confirm a number, and I'll go on my phone. And when I go on my phone, if I want to go on my bank, I have to show my face. It has to recognize my face on my phone, and then the phone is connected to the TV. So basically, if you don't have a mobile phone, you're not going to be able to log in on YouTube on your TV. So it's crazy. But there is cameras in TVs these days, though. So I wouldn't be surprised if, well, I know in the past people have been surveilled. But earlier on, whenever you mentioned the word UN, I think the UN now need to sort of reinvent themselves because, I mean, I don't think they add any value. And I hate to say that. I joined the military quite some years ago, and my unit had been to Bosnia on Operation Grapple 1, and they were in the blue helmets and all the rest of the UN stuff. And my unit, the guys came back traumatized, Mike, because what their job was to do was to just observe. Now, when you have grown men with morals and and part of the Army's values and standards it's called solid C: selfless commitment, offensive spirit, loyalty, integrity, diligence, moral courage, physical courage. So whenever you have soldiers trained with those type of things embodied in them, and you're asking them to wear a blue helmet cover and watch ethnic cleansing take place, and you're not allowed to intervene. Tell me how good the UN is. Why does the UN sit back on we are observers. Why are you not intervening? You have all the military equipment there. Your job is to save life and prevent further injuries to other people. So I just can't get my head around the UN doing a good job anymore, because whenever I heard that, and some of my soldiers came back, one of them killed himself when he came back. A lot of them were broken. You cannot ask grown men, to stand there and observe ethnic cleansing and say that's your role. The UN are a spent force. NATO are starting to get underfunded. I don't like the UN. I don't like what they stand for. I honestly believe that they are corrupt.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. We've gone way over the time, but I found it very interesting, and also we've had a couple of delays, a couple of little minor breakdowns, including the producers who are having this minor breakdowns. No, we're off the air again. Oh my God! If somebody wants to find out more about you, Trevor, how do they do that?
I've got my own YouTube channel, Trevor Coult MC. I'm on there. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, Mike, but I am someone's little Chardonnay.
Here's something about YouTube. We had a because they're going after us with, we believe, because of our TNT days. Anyway, and I can understand on one hand, because everybody they took off, or that Twitter had banned, we put on. They all worked for us, and they were very good people, and they all told the truth. Well, most of them did anyway, so I'd do it again in a blink. However, we were taken off because of harassment. They said harassment because Johnny McNeil said that Charlie Kirk did not like Netanyahu. And that's the reason why they took us off, because we were harassing somebody. It was the truth. So, I mean, everybody knows that Charlie Kirk did not like Bibi, can't stand him, and we just quoted a fact. So, so as for YouTube, enjoy it while you can, because one day they're going to go, don't like Trevor anymore, have to make his life miserable, and they will do it. But I think what is coming, such as in Australia with the e-safety commissioner, and around the world the control of the internet, and one of our shadow ministers in Australia said government must control the internet. And if you look at what's happening now in the US, journos are having now to sign these documents with the US government not to release anything until the US government sees it. And Pam Bondi is saying we must stamp out hate speech online, which means to me censoring. So all the things that they push, they are all doing. At the end of the day, they're still flying in the same pointy end of the aircraft, and I think we are in all sorts of trouble, without doubt. And I think over the next 6 months, I give it 6 months, I think the entire world would change. Freedom of information, such as what we're doing, it will be placed under enormous load, and I do not see a way out unless you are very smart. And Rumble the same. They say that Rumble's a very good platform. I know it's not a good platform. I don't care what they say. Rumble is not for free speech. So I think we're in trouble. But because you mentioned YouTube, enjoy it while you can, and maybe you'll have to start. I mean, the other thing is shortwave radio. You could do that. Trevor Coult MC, shortwave radio.
Possibly. There's one thing that I haven't discussed, and I am looking into it, and it is the whole Charlie Kirk and Israel thing. I know it's a dodgy subject on social media because the powers that be. But I have found out that the House of Representatives, Senator Ralph Hall, did block funding for the Israeli dome prior to it not working for the October the 7th massacre. So I've been looking into that quite a lot, and let's see where that goes.
Well, we've got some other information, but more on that in the next few days, because we've gone 10 minutes over almost. See, you make me talk too much. And our producers having a cardiac attempt of being brought back to life. Sorry, Jen. And Cam's doing a very good job too. Thank you, Trevor. We're a big, happy family, a bit like the Brady Bunch. Thank you very much for your time. This is The World Today.